In the first half hour, though, we are going to be doing HyperFixations, which is our little pre-show where I talk about all the things that have just been on my mind in the past week. Hello, Paid Vacation, Cisco Wright. Good to see you both. Welcome. So, we're going to start off with that. Look, y'all, I'm wearing a tie because it's the last stream of the year, and I'm so excited. HyperFixations number 6. Welcome to HyperFixations number 6. This episode is called Books, Moms, and Demon Slayer. Ho ho ho. Fun and exciting. Let's get into it. So, I just finished the Demon Slayer newest season this past weekend, and it was okay. It was okay, and I've been kind of thinking about it and mulling it over, because Demon Slayer is one of my favorites, right? Because I love the animation, I love the story, I love Tanjiro, who we'll talk about more during our lore board section, more of that in a second, but I really enjoy this anime, but I don't know, y'all, this season was okay, it was a very okay season to me. I was in it in the first episode, and then I don't know, at some point I was I don't know. I think this isn't a huge spoiler because everyone's been talking about it, but Inosuke and Zenitsu are not in this season at all. They're in the first episode, but not in it after that. And it's I don't know. I liked Inosuke. They were a huge part of why I enjoyed this. And after the huge hype train that was season 1, the Mugen Train stuff, I watched it in the seasons, not in the movie, but I watched it in the seasons. And then the Entertainment District arc, all of those were really fantastic. And so to me, Swordsmith Village was okay. And also, I don't know why, I got really distracted by all the CGI in this season. It was really, I don't know, it was really glaring, because it feels such a contrast to the rest of the art style. I don't know. It was still fun, and I still think that it's a good old time. I really like this guy, the Mist Hashira. He was so cool. But yeah, I don't know. Still love Demon Slayer though, and I can't wait for what's next. Next thing is these aggressive mom cooking videos. I love these. I think her name is Jess. But her username is applesauce and ADHD, and I love it. She yells at you while she's making it. She's like, "We're gonna be using Tyson chicken tenders for this orange chicken recipe. If you want to use real chicken, I don't care." That's her thing, and it's so good. I love it. And I think for me, it reminds me a lot of the moms of a bunch of my friends, because I'm originally from the Midwest. I'm an Ohio boy, and to me, I just she just radiates that kind of energy, that Midwest mom energy. The one who are I go over to their house and they're "Hi, welcome, it's so good to meet you, so nice to have you over." And then by the second time they're "You better be doing dishes." The second time I come over, they're "Welcome in." You know what I mean? To me, she just reminds me a lot of that. And I don't know, there's a lot of comfort in her videos. So check her out. I've also been really hyperfixated on this idea of third places, right? So this is something that I've been thinking about this past month, about this idea of you have home, you have work, and you have a third place, right? Traditionally, this has been a bar or a coffee shop or just a place that you like to hang out, but aside from those two places. Now, for me, I am a person who works from home. I am a person who is now a homebody. I used to not be one, but I pay rent now. So I pay rent now, y'all. So I want to stay at home, y'all. But I've been trying to find a good third place. So I go to karate, right? Y'all know that I practice karate, and that's fun and exciting. But I feel I have home, and karate's my second place. So I'd love a third place. And so I've been working on trying to get a third place at this coffee shop near my house, right? I don't want to tell y'all where this coffee shop is, what this coffee shop is. It's a fucking recipe for disaster. I don't want to dox myself like that. But I have been going to this coffee shop every Sunday, and it's been really nice. I'm enjoying a cup of coffee while I read a book. I'll go there for a couple hours. On this day though, on December 3rd, I like chatted with somebody, like an old man. We like had a really good long talk. It was really beautiful. He was a stranger, and I don't know. I feel like when people open up coffee shops, a lot of them are like yearning to create that kind of connection between their customers. And I don't know. I felt really good about it. I felt really good. So also, you can see my Haikyuu tote here, by the way. Also, I do look for hot young dads when I go to these coffee shops. Womp womp. Womp, 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 womp. All right, and so this next part is going to be a little long. I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read, not all the books, but some of my favorite books that I read this year. I am a huge reader. If you want to check out all the books that I read, you can find my Instagram where I like post every book that I read. But this year I read 56. I have not finished this book yet, but I have been talking a lot about this book to my therapist, who I meet every Wednesday, fun fact, because there's a lot of really interesting parts to it, right? There's this idea of like how we show up in our adult relationships is based on how we were how emotionally secure we felt as children. And I thought that's a really fascinating idea and had me like really reflecting a lot. I moved a lot as a kid, right? I moved a lot. I lived in a bunch of different countries, but that also created this sense of instability and like emotional vulnerability. And kind of reflecting on that and like having the help of my therapist to kind of like make sense of it all was really helpful. And to me, I've been really thinking about this book a lot. I've been really journaling about this book a lot. So I haven't finished it yet, so I can't give you like full recommendation, but I can give you like a half one. I could be like, check it out. It's pretty cool so far. Yeah. So on the topic of books, I read 56 books. Here are some of the best that I've read this year. Okay. Jesus and John Wayne, super good. This is the first book I finished this year. It's about like the white evangelical movement in the United States and how that like began, how it gained strength. Super interesting. And then Breath by James Nestor, which talks about the importance of breathing. I utilize some of the practices in this book really well. My favorite is this idea of how exhalation is much more important than inhalation. I don't know. That was super interesting to me. So check this one out too. More books. Cuba and American History is so good. To me, this feels like the blueprint of how history books should be, because this is such a good book. She does this thing where she like reminds you of certain people and places in parentheses, and to me, that's amazing. And it's also the history of Cuba is so fascinating, especially when it comes to American imperialism, the imperialism of the European nations, like the Platt Amendment. So fascinating. Check this one out. And then this fantasy series by C.S. Pacat, I think, called The Dark Rise, Dark Air. I don't remember what this series is called, but I read both of these books this year, and they're so good. I think the detail is so gritty and dark. I think that there is such a cool emotional connection between Will, who's the main character, and the other characters. So check this one out. Even more books. Last Day of the Dinosaurs. There was a period this year, and actually this is part of the reason why I started this series, where I was like really into dinosaurs and like prehistoric things for a while. And so I really enjoyed this one. It really like scratched that part of my brain. And it's easy to understand. Like, I don't have a very science-minded brain. I enjoy like reading science facts, but it's just not something that like comes easy to me. But this was really easy for a layman like myself to pick up. So check this one out. And Cobalt Red. So there is a huge problem going on in Congo, where people are like, the Congolese people are being exploited to mine in such horrid conditions. And you know, I'm gonna give a huge trigger warning to this book, because some of them are like so, I don't know, they like turn your stomach reading some of these stories. And so I really encourage you to check Cobalt Red out. More books. The Creative Act is so interesting. I was an actor for a long time, and kind of reflecting on how the creative process extends to like so many different styles. I even reflected on how creativity reflects in martial arts, and it's really nice and beautiful. So check this one out. This one's a little bit of a controversial one. I know a lot of people don't like this one because of its depictions of mental health and a lot of other things. To me, this is one of the books that like sticks with me. Like, I think about this book, I think about its ending, and I get shivers. I still think about how this book goes and how I felt. I'm sitting on my couch reading it, weeping, sobbing through like 20 to 30 pages to the end, and it's so... no book and no piece of art. That's a lie. That's a huge thing, but like, that's a huge claim to make. But few books and pieces of art have been able to touch me in such a way that I am haunted, and this book haunts me. So if you're into that, check this one out. The autobiography of Malcolm X, I read that, I think towards the end of summer, if I remember correctly. Really accessible book. I think a lot of historical books, especially in the 50s and 60s, feel really dated, and like, I don't know, sometimes they're hard to read. But this one's really easy to read, really fascinating. I really enjoyed his trip to Mecca, his trip to the Middle East. I thought that was really fascinating, and the evolution of his ideas was really fascinating. So, this feels like a really important book to also pick up, to know one of the most important figures of American history, human history. So check this one out. Paddle Your Own Canoe by Nick Offerman is a really, really fun read. I remember reading, I was listening to the audiobook of this, and he's so funny. He's so good. I remember reading this during a road trip, and it's just a really charming one. Really charming, and I like his stories. In an Instant is a really sad book, but it's really well written. I really enjoyed the characters in it. The story took a lot of turns I wasn't expecting. It's about this family that gets into a car crash. The main character dies and kind of like sees her family going through the grieving process. So it's interesting. Hannibal, Rome's Greatest Enemy. Now this is my Roman Empire. I really like this one. I thought that it was another really accessible historic read. I love history books, and I'm always in the hunt for good, easy books to get into history about, because I think that some history books are so dry. These are the facts and these are the figures, and I've read a good amount of those, and they suck, dude. They suck to get through. But this one is not one of them. I really enjoyed this one, so check this one out. Fascinating figure. Heartbreak Boys is a fun YA LGBT read. It's about these two best friends who go on a road trip around England, and I like the characters in this. I think the dialogue is really fun, so check this out. Milo and Marcus at the End of the World is another YA LGBT book. It's an apocalypse book. I read 2 of them, but this one's really, really interesting. Oh, no, this is not an apocalypse book. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. This is a really sweet read between... it deals a lot with like religious trauma. It deals a lot with like the church and all that stuff. And I think that the choices that some of the characters make are really interesting and really fascinating. So check this one out. Almost there, almost done. Just 2 more slides. The Courage to be Disliked is a fascinating philosophical read. It's written in the dialogues between an old man and a young man, where they talk about this philosophy of theirs. I can't say I agree with everything in it, but I think it's fascinating. And on that same vein, I read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius this year. This has always been on my list to read, and I finally got to it this year. And the copy that I have, it's annotated, so like whenever there was some obscure reference there, it was so easy to get into, and I think some of the lessons are still applicable today. I think that the ideas of the Stoics are applicable today. I don't think I'm a Stoic fully, but some of the ideas, they're good. Okay, last 2. The First to Die at the End is the sequel to They Both Die at the End, right, by Adam Silvera. And I really liked the first book, but the second book, oh, there was something special about the second book, yo. There was something so special about the second book. I don't want to give too much away, but this is like a really cool prequel to that book. Really cool. I like this one a lot. And then finally, the Atlas 6. I like the character developments here. I like the lore here. Really fascinating fantasy read. That's it. That's it. So, thank you for joining me for HyperFixations. We'll be back with that show next year. If you're watching this later on YouTube, I love you. Goodbye.